What in the world is happening with King County real estate? Let's go. Check it out, party people. Here we go. All right, here is your supply and demand graph. Supply and demand, not just a good idea. It's the law. If I don't tell that joke every quarter, it's sort of problematic for me. So there you go. All right, so what do you see? What do you see? The green is the supply, new listings that came on. And the blue is the demand, the number of homes that went under contract for every month for the last 3 years. We normally look at 2 years, but I wanted to see something different. So this is a really interesting phenomenon. So first of all, you can see buying demand has been really steady over the past 3 years. Buying demand has been really pretty close, more or less, right? Since it's been low. If we go further back, it would be higher. But when interest rates tripled, sales have been staying like this. Okay. But look at the inventory. Look at the green. Look how much more green there is. Now, this is a whole year and this is only half a year, so you can't really tell. But look how many more houses are on the market. What I was interested in is I wanted to see this phenomenon. I wanted to see something about this particular situation, which is June. So May didn't get up as high as May last year did. Okay. But April and June were significantly higher than April or June have been anywhere. So the aggregate is far more inventory on the market, which means if you're buying, you have way more to choose from than you have any time in the last 3 years. Just a ton more inventory to choose from. And if you're selling, you're not going to get multiple offers. It's unlikely unless you price it low and it's a unique property and you are realistic about where you started. You're just not going to get what you could have 2 years ago because there's so much more for people to choose from because it's so much more expensive for them to buy than it has been in the past. So that's really the bottom line here, is that there's a lot of inventory. It's, we're going to see a seasonal decline predictably. July is going to be lower. How much lower? That's a real question for me. Is buying demand is going to be pretty much, it's been the same last 3 years. No particular reason to think it's all of a sudden going to go away. But where's the supply going to be? Are we going to see elevated levels like this to continue to add to an expanding amount of inventory? Or are we going to see it drop to, sort of last year, the year before's July levels? Okay. That's the question in King County. In the meantime, the immediate present reality is if you're selling, you got to price it just right and you got to get it looking perfect and set your expectations accordingly. If you're buying, let's go. You should have the pick of the litter. It doesn't mean prices are falling off the table. It just means there's a lot to choose from. If you don't like what you got, you can find something else. Okay. You got questions about your situation, let me know, because every situation is unique. Every body's unique. Every place is unique. It's all different out there. So let me know what you need. That's what I'm here for. Aaron Hendon with Christine Company over at EXP. Party on, Wayne. What in the world is happening with Kitsap County real estate? Oh, baby. Let's look. All right. Supply and demand. Green is the supply. Blue is the demand. Last 3 years, every month. Look at the blue, really consistent. Demand, really consistent. This is the same as King County, same as the other areas. Our demand doesn't change much. Pricing is very much a function of supply relative to that stable demand. And you see a decrease in inventory from June to July, from May to June to July. We hit our peak in Kitsap in May, and we've come down slightly since in those last 2 months. Not as much as 2024. Look at 2024, how we hit the peak in May over here, and then bam, 10% less. A little bit more dramatic last year, a little bit less dramatic this year. So you're seeing, while the inventory is going down, which is predictable, overall, there's more available because the inventory is going down more slowly. So what does this mean? This means if you're buying, you have a lot to choose from. Not quite as much as King County, but it's still pretty solid, pretty even market, not a buyer's market or seller's market. Balanced market. There's the word, Aaron. And if you're selling, get it right. Do not, get your expectations right. Really look at the comps, get your house in order, move forward with a solid plan with your agent. If you have questions about your particular situation, let me know. That's what I'm here for. But this is an easier time to buy than it was last year, and it's a harder time to sell. That's what you do need to know. And I don't see that changing very much. I mean, I think we're going to see a predictable decline in inventory like we do every year. But this is why, by the way, it's easier to sell in the winter, because look at these, how close the buyers or sellers are over these winter months, meaning there's a buyer for every house. There's not a buyer for every house now. I don't know why people think, oh, wait till the spring to sell. It's dumb. You can have better shot at it later in the year. But in the meantime, if you're buying, woohoo, you got a lot of inventory to choose from. Again, you got questions? Let's take a look. Happy to work with you. Happy to answer any questions you got. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company at EXP. Party on, Wayne. Hey, what in the world's happening with Pierce County real estate? Oh, let's look, baby. All right, this is the last 2 years, supply and demand. Green is supply, blue is demand, as always. Demand's going up a little bit in Pierce County. This is, this is a nice trend up, right? Which you don't usually get, haven't gotten in a while. But the inventory is really outpacing. So April was really strong. May was the peak. And June was pretty solid too. It was just about, was this last June? Yeah. Over last June. May was over last May. April was over last April. That means you got a lot of inventory. But unlike King County, the demand is going up. It still falls way behind supply, meaning it's not pre-pandemic. It's not levels like this that you'll see at the end of the year when it's way easier to sell. Contrary to what passes for common knowledge. But what you do want to know is, given it's easier to buy now, if you're selling your house, you need to price it right. You need to get it just so, because there's a lot of competition, more competition than there has been the last couple of years. If you're buying, it's easier to buy than it has been the last couple of years, but not as easy as King County. You got increasing demand. Now, I suspect that demand will fall off in July. Usually does. I think we're going to start to see it decline towards the end of the year. Normally does. But so will inventory. And inventory will fall off at a greater rate. So it'll get progressively harder to buy as we get to the end of the year. So if you're shopping, I'd lock something up now, maybe, July, maybe August, something like that in Pierce County. But every situation is different. Every house, neighborhood, your demands, what you need, all different. So if you have questions, that's what I'm here for. You should call me up. We should talk about it. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at EXP. Party on, Wayne. See you next month. What in the world's happening with Snohomish County real estate? Let's look. This is a way more dramatic chart than any of the other counties so far. That I don't know what order you're watching these in, but if you watch Pierce, Kitsap, or King, this is way more dramatic of a phenomena. Look how steady buyers are. Buyers pretty much, just right around that 800 mark peak. We're a little bit over that, okay, but not much. And they're pretty steady over. You could draw a fairly straight line. Not so with inventory. Inventory really goes up in the summer, down in the winter, and always outpaces demand. That's what you're looking at, by the way. Supply and demand. Green is the supply, blue is the demand. But look at how much more inventory came to the market April, May, June than last year. May was about the same between the 2 years, but April and June, way more. There is way more available inventory in Snohomish County than there has been any time in the last 2 years. It's just sitting there. So if you are buying in Snohomish, you should have a way easier time finding what you're looking for and being able to negotiate for it than you have any time in the last 2 years. If you're selling, it means you have to be that much more on top of it. You got to price it right. You got to make it look right. You got to stage it. You got to do all the things, and you got to set your expectations, because you're not in 2020 anymore. This is a radically different scenario. This, we're approaching a buyer's market. Still a balanced market, but we're approaching a buyer's market at this rate in Snohomish. So if you have questions about your situation, your area, your house, your neighborhood, because everything is different when you get down to the granular level, that's what I'm here for. Reach out. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company EXP. See you next month. Hey, what in the world's happening with Vashon Real Estate? Check it out. Supply and demand, last 2 years. Green is the supply, new listings, blue is demand, homes pending during those months. So this is shaping up like last year. For the blue, the demand, pretty similar to last year. That's really close. As is the supply. Now there's, give or take a house or two. That's really, really close. That's June, May, and April. June, May, and April look really, really the same as last year. And last year, this is July, so June, May, April. We'll see where July winds up, but I can tell you, there are already 7-10 houses, and we're only at the 2nd of July. So, and I don't suspect anything else coming on this weekend. I would suspect the rest of them are going to come on next week after the 4th. I don't know when you're watching this, but what this shows is there's a lot of houses available. Okay, so we're not in the pandemic anymore. We're not scarce. There's a lot of available inventory. It depends on what price point you're in. If you're below medium, if you're below like 700, if you're below 600, you should have no problem selling because there's almost nothing in that price point. Everything here is really between 8 and 1.3, 1.4. That's really common. That's where most of these houses would wind up. In fact, let's just take a look. See if I can break it up by that. See if my guess is right. Oh, yeah, there we go. This price. Let's see what we come up with. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Oh, who's right? Who's smart? Who's the smarty? That's me. That's me right there at the million plus, right? And million 1.5. So the bulk of them are right here. You get down here, you got the tail, right? Almost nothing under 5, right? And that's the last 3 years, right, of data, last 2 years of data. If we just look at year to date, let's keep dividing this. See, there you go. Okay, so the bulk of them are at that price point. So if you're shopping below, say, 800, 700, you're going to have less to choose from and you're going to be much more competitive. If you're shopping above 800, there's going to be a ton to look at and you're going to be less competitive. So again, selling, reverse that. If you're selling and you're above 1 point whatever, you're going to have competition. You're going to have to price it right and market and do all the things. And if you're below that, you should have an easy time getting it sold, or an easier time getting it sold. But overall, there's way more inventory available on the island than there used to be. This is really common. There's probably about 40 houses now to choose from in all the price points. So every house, though, is unique, especially Vashon. I say this in every county, that every neighborhood, every house is unique. But on Vashon, it varies from Glen Acres to Tahlequah, radically different pricing. Maury and Stockton is really different than even Sandy Shores. It's just a ton of different variables. So you got questions, I got consultations. Okay, I don't know that I have answers, but I have places you can look. Okay, let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company and ADXP. Don't be a stranger. Give me a call.